Janelle, if we haven't officially met. You're welcome to start in a position that is easy if you want to lay down or stay seated. Something where you can start to connect in with the body. Starting your practice by simply becoming a little more aware, heightening our senses. Maybe you have your eyes closed, and you can start to just feel a little with it, using that internal gaze to scan through. Maybe you notice some areas that have a little more tension and tightness. Maybe they speak a little louder to you. Starting first by building that awareness to them, that acknowledgement. It doesn't have to be a big to-do, just a simple, I see you, that head nod. Tells that area of the body that it is heard. No longer needs to yell quite as loud. Maybe you start to notice that little sense of softness that comes when you give it that acknowledgement. And if you need something further, maybe you also use the breath with it. Finding that slightly deeper inhale and that fuller exhale. Taking that exhale almost like to really let the body melt down and let go. Finding those full breaths in. And nice breaths out. Maybe as you're scanning through, you also notice areas that feel good. Have a little bit of openness. Having gratitude for those areas as well. Not letting it be all about the areas that are tight or have tension. Recognizing that there's good and bad within every moment. Just all in what you focus in on. Taking a few more rounds of slow, deep breath. Maybe you also roll the shoulders back and down. And relax the jaw. Feel that gentle pull of gravity, creating a touch of openness. Maybe through the shoulders, the hips, even the toes gently holding out. Perhaps setting an intention for today's class. And just for this time, what is a word or a little phrase that will help guide you or pull you through? Maybe it's a goal for your practice. Sealing it in with a nice big breath in. And on that exhale, maybe it's audible as you sigh it out. Take one more of those big inhales and full exhales. Starting to create a bit of movement, waking up through the body. If you have a little wiggle through the fingers, maybe you squeeze those shoulder blades and let them go. That balance of creating tension, finding a bit of movement. Maybe you press your thumbs against the ends of each one of your fingers. Waking up through the hands, maybe curl through the toes, or draw big, giant circles with your toe, waking up through the ankle. Going the other direction, you've got the circles happening. Let's come into that good morning stretch, reaching those arms up overhead as you inhale. Nice big reach, maybe you point through the toes. Finding all of that length, letting it not just be about the arms, but feel it through underarm and rib cage, so tall. And take that exhale, let the arms hang heavy. Take one more of those good morning stretches. Big reach up, little point through the toes. So much height. Maybe you're interlacing your fingers, reaching those arms up a little taller. Take that exhale. Start to hug the knees in towards the chest. Taking that gentle rock from side to side. Feeling that little massage on low back. A little massage to the shoulders, maybe. Keeping a gentle tuck of the chin here. Oftentimes, we start to roll a little more towards the top of the head. Just continuing to lengthen through that back line of the neck. And find a bit of stillness. Keeping the hands on the knees. Let's start to rotate the knees in opposite directions. Coming into some nice knee circles. You'll start really nice and small, really quite gentle. And then maybe you start to explore that full range of motion of the knees or the legs rotating around in that hip joint. So we focus in a little more on the hip stay, trying to soothe and release some tension. We might also build a little strength, work on those stabilizing muscles, letting it be a holistic approach. Let's go opposite direction with the knees. So although there's still circles, sometimes just going the opposite way reveals new things, whether that be new areas of tension or a deeper way to get into the circle. And let's hug the knees deep in towards the chest, really trying to squeeze them in as much as possible. Maybe start to lift head and shoulders up off the ground, rolling into tiny balls. Even though there might be lots of space between forehead and knees, that's okay. Feel the spine lift up off the ground. Maybe you squeeze in a little deeper and try to lift the head a little closer towards the knees. And slowly take that recline back down, feeling that massage over that upper spine. Beautiful. Bring the hands to the back of the legs. Extend the legs up towards the ceiling. You still have a deep bend to the knees, starting to wake up through those hamstrings. Maybe you give the legs a little squeeze, a little pat, increasing that blood flow, a little massage, just saying hello. If you've got a nice deep bend to the legs, maybe start to extend one leg a little bit longer. Other knee can bend in a little bit deeper, finding just length through one side. And then alternate to the opposite side, extending the other foot up towards the ceiling, having a deeper bend to the opposite knee. And switching back and forth, and just waking up that back line of the leg, those hamstrings, maybe into the calf muscle. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, add a flex to the foot when you extend the leg. Maybe feel that through the ankle, maybe feel that through the calf as well. The other leg up, maybe adding the flex in on the other side. Beautiful. And then lengthen through both the legs, feeling that little difference. Adding a nice point to the toes, really pointing with intention. Try to feel this to the top line of the ankle and into the shin, pointing so nice and strongly. And then add a deep flex to the feet. Really wake up that Achilles and into the calf. Maybe even start to feel it through the back of the knee, feeling how everything is connected. And relax through the feet. Let's release the hands alongside the body. Feel how now those hip flexors and maybe those lower abdominals just woke up. Take an inhale and lengthen through the spine. See if you can get a little shoulder or a little taller, rolling those shoulder blades back and down. If you need a little extra stabilizing, I love to tuck my hands right under the sits bones here. That helps keep the low back nice and connected. Excellent. Let's start to come into a little motion like we're riding a unicycle or like a little bicycle or something. And just starting to circle the ankles around each other. Maybe you keep this motion really small. That'll help get into some of those smaller fibers we don't often get into in the hips. Or you can really bend through the knees, making your circles a little bit bigger, but still pointing up towards the ceiling. Getting into some of those larger muscles, getting into the glutes. There's no bad option. It's just taking what your body wants to work on in this moment. We even do a little of each. Excellent. Starting to feel some of that strength of the legs. Maybe those outer edges of the hips are starting to warm up. Let's stop and go opposite direction. Imagining you're backpedaling, moving backwards. Beautiful. Still keeping that gentle tuck of the chin here. And trying to relax through those shoulders. Letting this be all about the legs, all about the hips. Beautiful. We'll take one more full round of breath worth of movement. Still finding that inhale. And a full exhale. Coming to stillness, really extend those legs up towards the ceiling. Add a bend to the knees and plant the feet. Maybe a windshield wiper the knees from side to side, releasing a bit through those hips. Coming to stillness. Bringing those feet a little bit wider apart, maybe even a little closer towards the edge of the mat. Maybe you bring the feet just a little farther away from those sits bones. Let's drop the legs down towards the right. Noticing that little internal rotation through left leg, a little external rotation through right leg. If you want a little more here, you can start to sweep those arms up overhead. And coming into boss arms, interlacing the fingers underneath the head, letting the elbows fall open. If you've got really tight quads, maybe you also feel this through left quad. Maybe you feel that tension across the side or the front of the hip. See if you can take a moment and relax the muscles through the hip just a little more. Feeling that little melting down sensation. Taking one more breath here. Starting to gently bring those knees back up through center. Feeling that entire low back connect down and then dropping the knees off towards the opposite side. No expectation that knees come down towards the ground. If you've got a lot of space there, that might just be little tension areas or the range of motion restrictions. Working on softening here. One more breath, finding a full inhale, soft exhale. Bringing those knees back up through center, releasing those hands. Bring the hands back alongside the body. Bring those feet back towards neutral. Beautiful. Take an inhale, finding your breath, and on that exhale, find a little engagement through the core, more of like a stronger exhale, like a, and then press into the feet. Start to float the hips up off the ground. Bring that awareness back to the feet. Stomp the heels down. Really press into the heels with so much intention. Maybe even feel a little slide a little higher up onto shoulder blades. Excellent. Feel a little activation, maybe through glutes and hamstrings. You're welcome to bring up the hips a little bit higher if you want a little more intensity. But you can do this with the hips just floating up off the ground. Let's roll the weight into the toes, taking maybe the heels up off the ground. You can tiptoe the feet a little bit closer if that feels a little better. Feel how now those quads are a little more active. Glutes and legs are still working, but you can feel it just a touch more, really pressing into the toes. And take that exhale, plant the foot back down. Let's roll down nice and slow. Coming down one vertebrae at a time. Giving those muscles along the spine that nice little massage. Beautiful. Either windshield wiper or hug the knees into the chest to find your release. Either movement is great. make our way up to a seated position. So maybe you roll into your favorite side and press yourself up, or maybe you just grab onto knees and roll up. Sitting in a position that's comfortable, so even if you've got legs extended, legs crossed, just starting to warm up a little more into those shoulders. Let's take an inhale and sweep those arms up, nice big reach. Exhale, bring the hands down towards heart center. Press gently into the palms here. Feel that openness of the collarbone and squeeze through the shoulder blades. And relax. Release the hands, take an inhale, sweep it up. Maybe right at the top you press the hands together and actively press hands all the way down. Finding that openness and that squeeze through the shoulder blades. And relax the hands. Maybe here you intentionally reach the hands out with as much as possible, reaching all the way up, pressing hands together and drawing the hands down, feeling how that tension can be good. A little squeeze through the shoulders as you find that full openness. And exhale, let it go. Take one more. Maybe you're active, maybe you're a little less. Bring the hands down. And you sit nice and tall. Take a little bow here. Maybe you just tuck chin in and have a hunch forward, or maybe you come more into a forward fold. Your choice to stay up super high, or maybe you start to walk those hands out. Keep it nice round through the spine. It feels really good. Just finding the level of depth you want to work at today. And start to come back up. Beautiful. Holding on to the knees. Let's lift through the heart. And just finding a little back bend even here. Staying in control of the neck as you really press that collarbone up towards the ceiling. Getting as tall as possible. Feeling that little arch through the spine. And take that exhale and release. And let's switch the feet. Opposite foot in front or on top. Beautiful. Let's take that inhale and we'll sweep those arms up. On the exhale, we'll bring the arms out along to the side. Inhale to reach up. Exhale down. One more nice big inhale. And then exhale, draw the hands all the way down and bring the hands behind the back. Maybe you reach for opposite fingers and pull the hands down, or maybe you reach even for opposite elbows, feeling that little level of intensity increase. Feel that openness through the shoulders. Inhale and lengthen, getting as tall as possible. Exhale, feel that gentle engagement through the shoulders and through the core. Let's tip over towards the left, coming into a side bend. Kind of awkward with the hands behind the back. Maybe you've never done this, but it forces that top shoulder to really stay open. Draw the ears far from the shoulders, pressing into the legs to help stabilize. And let's float the body back up through center and off towards the right. Just feeling just the body start to engage as you shift where the weight is balancing. Extending the head long and floating back up towards center. If you're reaching for opposite elbows, odds are you have one arm on top of the other. Come into a switch. Beautiful. Take a nice big inhale and exhale, engage. Let's just do one more round of those little side bends, just with the opposite hand. Really reaching, maybe you sink a little lower, maybe you extend a little longer. And float the body right back up, off towards the right. Coming back up through center. And even here, with a nice flat back, the hands behind our back will help keep our spine nice and long and tall as we take that little bow. You might not go as deep here as you have that little restriction of forcing the back to stay straight. Maybe you feel that through the shoulders. Use the core to help lift you back up and gently release the hands. You give those arms a little shake or those shoulders a little roll. Beautiful. Let's come into our all fours position, finding that nice tabletop shape. Taking an inhale to gaze up, and an exhale to round through the spine. Nice little cat-cow movement. Inhale to look up. Maybe you press into hands and extend the ears far from shoulders. Find that one. And as you exhale, rounding through the spine, maybe you also press through shoulders. Taking one more nice inhale breath. Maybe you even actively press into hands here, as well as press belly button down towards the ground. Feel that extra bit of intention. And take that exhale, round through the spine. Maybe you imagine drawing that belly button up towards the spine or towards the ceiling. And coming to a nice neutral position. Beautiful. Finding space between the shoulders. Imagine rolling them back and down. Imagine you're standing like a pit bull, nice and broad. Fingers are nice and wide. Send right toes back, touching them down onto the mat. Maybe take a little moment here. Work into the feet, into the ankle, into the calf. Coming to stillness. Let's start to float that foot up. If you want extra challenge here, roll that right hip down. Bring the toes pointing down towards the floor. Beautiful. Bend through the knee. Foot goes up towards the ceiling. And kick that foot up nice and tall. Feel all of that length. And exhale. Start to swing the knee towards the right wrist. Extend the leg back up nice and long. You can still have a bend to the knee. And start to swing the knee towards the elbow. Feel that active squeeze that you have to take to bring the knee a little higher. Send the knee back up. And maybe this time you start to swing the knee a little more out towards the side as you tap it towards the shoulder. No expectation that they come to touch. And send it back, finding that length. Let's take one more round of those. Knee towards the wrist, nice and low. Knee floats back up. Knee towards the elbow. Knee floats back up. And knee off towards the shoulder. Knee extends. Beautiful. Find length through the leg. Point through the toes. Maybe roll that hip back down. Beautiful. Bend the knee and plant the leg back down. Take a little sway from side to side. Maybe you shake out through the wrists as well. And coming back to that stillness. That gentle engagement through the core as you just gently pull that belly button up, activating into that low back. Left toes extend backwards. And take that nice little pulse, waking up into the foot. This also actually wakes up into that standing leg. Gets into that hip a little bit. Find that stillness. Nicely stabilize. Foot floats up. Maybe you have openness through that hip. If you want that extra challenge, roll that hip down, making both hips parallel with the ground. Toes will naturally point down as well. Bend through the knee. Foot goes up towards the ceiling. Maybe you try to keep this exact shape the entire time. Or you can extend the leg at any point. Knee swings down towards the left wrist. Extend the knee back up. Knee taps towards elbow. Feel that squeeze inwards. And extending the leg. Knee comes out towards the side to tap for shoulder. Extend the knee. One more round. Knee towards wrist. Extending knee to shoulder. Knee to elbow. And knee out towards shoulder. Beautiful. Extend that left leg nice and long. Maybe you point through the toes. Maybe you roll that hip back down. Beautiful. Bend the knee. Land it. Take a nice sway, or however you'd like to release. You can take a little child's pose too if that would feel better, but I like a little bit of movement to release. And as you actively press the hips out, you can start to get into the side of the hip, into that IT band. Letting it feel good. Finding that stillness. Let's tuck those toes under and make our way into a downward dog, pressing into the hands, knees float up, hips lift up towards the ceiling. Find that nice reach through the arms. Maybe you want to bend into the knees here, feeling that length through the spine. Maybe you lengthen through the legs and pedal out the feet. And waking up the legs a little bit more. Let's look towards the front of the mat and take a nice big step, finding a forward fold. And let the body hang heavy. Maybe even add a bend to the knees. That's a great way to actually release more of the low back. Bend the knees, rest the torso on the legs. Feels wonderful. Let the head hang heavy. Maybe give it a little shake no. Maybe give it a little nod yes. But the shake no is what really helps release. And let's inhale. Find a halfway lift. Plant the hands above the knees, roll the shoulders back and down, extend the head nice and long. Bend the knees, sink the hips, find a gentle chair pose. Beautiful. Maybe hang out here. Maybe hands come to heart. Inhale, lengthen, engage that core. Exhale, sink it back down. Press all the way up towards standing. Reach it up nice and tall. Exhale, hands come down. Release the hands out towards the side as you inhale and reach up. Exhale, hands to heart. Beautiful. Let's step that right foot back and finding a nice high lunge position. To keep it more gentle, you can just step back a little bit for more intensity. Really step back. Rolling left hip back, right hip forward. Let's bring the hands down onto the hips. Just for that extra bit of awareness. More gentleness can also be from lengthening a little bit more through the leg. More intensity builds up as you have a deep bend. Trying to bring those shoulders right over the hips will increase that pull through hip flexor and through quad. Beautiful. Let's inhale and sweep those arms up overhead. Continuing to work with that side body. Interlacing fingers, maybe coming to steeple. If you want extra challenge, you're welcome to keep the hands apart no matter squeezing that block. Lengthening and pressing into the feet. And take that exhale, engage through the core. Let's step over towards the left. Lengthening through that right side of the body. Beautiful. Float back up. And off towards the right. Keeping the legs nice and level. Reaching nice and long with that left hand. You can come on back up. Nicely reach. Take an exhale and bow it down. And plant that back knee down, coming into your low lunge. Maybe pad up under that right knee. Working on pressing those hips forward. Start to bring those hands onto the knee and bring those shoulders more over the hips. Should this feel like you're not really working anything through the hip or through the quad, if you want more intensity, you start to add a bend to that knee. We'll increase the intensity. Keep pressing hips forward. Keep lengthening through the spine. Bring the knee back down. Let's take an inhale and reach those arms up. Finding the length here, getting as tall as possible. Maybe find a little back bend. Reaching those arms a little farther back. Maybe the gaze starts to go towards the ceiling. Coming back up. Reaching tall. Let's bring those hands down towards the inside of the leg. You can bring that knee just out towards the side, creating a little bit more space. Just finding just a high lizard. You can be up on fingertips. You can plant the hands down, pressing hips forward. Maybe that knee even starts to open up off towards the side. Start to bring that knee back in. Start to press back up. And let's tuck those back toes under. Lifting through the knee. And then stepping towards the top of the mat. Find a forward fold. Maybe the legs are a little bit longer this time. Maybe you alternate bending between one leg and the next. Really getting into those hamstrings. Take an inhale, find that halfway lift. Planting those hands above the knees, extending the head nice and long. Shoulders roll back and down. Knees bend, sink, or hips sink, finding that gentle chair pose. Maybe those hands come to heart. You inhale and lengthen, drawing that belly button in. Exhale, sink. Beautiful. Press all the way up towards standing. Reach it up nice and tall. Optional back bend here if you feel like you want it. Back towards center. Hands to heart. Release those hands down. Just sweep it up nice and tall. Bring the hands to heart center. Left foot steps back, finding that high lunge position. Hands can come onto the hips to roll that right hip back. Press left hip forward. Beautiful. Maybe bring those shoulders a little more over the hips. Maybe bend a little deeper into the knee. Let's take that inhale, reach up nice and tall. Still drawing those lower ribs in. Maybe interlace the hands. Let's step over towards the right first. Feeling that lengthening through that left side. Maybe use that bottom arm, that right hand to actively pull that left arm just a little more. And come on back up. And off towards the left. Keep pressing that right knee out towards the side. Maybe also pull onto that right arm. Start to float it back up. Nice big reach. If the gaze goes up towards the ceiling, as you find a touch in the back bend, pressing those hips forward, as you reach those hands back. Back towards neutral. Take that exhale, bow it all the way down, resting the torso on the leg, and drop that back knee down. Finding your low lunge. Pressing hips forward, feeling something through that left side. And starting to float the hands up onto the knees, bringing those shoulders more stacked over the hips. You can inhale to reach those arms up. And exhale, bow down, hugging the hands to the inside of the foot. Maybe wiggling that foot just off slightly towards the side. Option to stay high up on fingertips. You can keep that knee really sucked in. You can even create that little resistance, pressing the knee against shoulder if that feels better. Or you can let that knee fall open, creating openness through the hip. Maybe you come down on hands. Maybe you press those hips a little bit more forward. Starting to draw that knee back in towards the shoulder. Maybe come back up onto fingertips. You're welcome to frame the foot here as well. I often just leave my foot up towards the side because it feels a little better for me. You can tuck those back toes under, lift the knee, and step right into a forward fold, letting the body hang heavy. Maybe you have a little bit of movement here. Maybe you have a little sway through the torso. Maybe you have a little pulse, more of an up and down, and experiencing more of that mid-range as you lengthen, and that end range as you sink. And this little motion with control is actually what helps lengthen that back line of the legs, those calves and those hamstrings. If you just get into that end range and hold, your muscles are just freaking out, being like, I'm at my max. What do you want me to do here? And then as you experience that mid-range, they feel safe, and with control, going to that end range, they lengthen. Let's find that halfway lift, finding length. And bend the knees, same with the hips, finding that gentle chair. Maybe even press in here, finding a little more length, rolling shoulders back and down. Tuck the belly button under, activating the low back. And press all the way up to standing. Take a nice big reach up. Hands to heart. Beautiful. Stepping that right foot back. Point your toes towards the long edge of the mat. Both toes spin towards the mirrors. Bring the hands. You know where those jean pockets would exist? Just kind of the base of that low back. Try to make the elbows disappear behind the back. Have palms facing the back. exhale and bow it down, protecting that low back as you find your wide-legged forward fold. So even if you don't go down all the way, you can plant the hands kind of on the thighs or the hips, or anywhere along the legs that feels good, feels supportive. Trying to lengthen through that spine. This is a great move for a little natural traction. Gives a little bit more space to those jelly discs between each of the vertebrae. Maybe you feel this through hamstrings. Maybe you feel this through inner thighs. You're welcome to find a little bit of movement here. I like to walk my hands off towards one side and then the next, just helping getting into those inner lines of the legs a little bit more. Exploring what would feel best for your body in this environment. Let's bring those hands back onto the legs if they started to float down. Bring them above the knees, coming up the same way we would if our feet were a little more together. So coming up halfway, rolling the shoulders back and down. We'll add a bend to the knees, start to drop those hips down. Maybe you're pressing into those knees. Taking a little moment here, and pressing all the way up. Let's reach it up nice and tall. Bring the hands interlaced overhead. Start to spin the toes out just ever so slightly. Feel that engagement through the core, activate that low back. Take an exhale and start to bend the knees outwards. Coming into our little goddess pose. You can open up through the arms, maybe reaching them out wide, north and south. Notice you have palms up, down, and to the side. It doesn't really matter. Whatever it is, change it. Maybe give yourself a big thumbs up and extend the fingers. Maybe you actively have palms facing down and you're trying to press those hands down, creating that resistance. We're doing that same motion, palms up, pressing against the ceiling but not moving. Relax through the shoulders, let the arms and the head just float. Maybe sink just a touch deeper. And press all the way up towards down. Nice big reach. Finding length. Hands come down. Relax the hands. And let's step towards the top of the mat. Beautiful. Take that inhale, reach it up, optional back bend. And take an exhale, find neutral, and bow it right down into that forward fold. Inhale, lengthen. Come up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees deeply so you can plant the hands down, take that nice big step back, find your downward dog. Holding here for a full breath. Send those hips up just a little higher. Let's drop the knees nice and wide, taking a little child's pose. Arms can stay out nice and long and active, or you can bend through the elbows, bring the hands in a little bit closer towards the body. A little more restful. Pressing gently into those hands. Let's start to come up. And we'll spin around, making ourselves into a reclined position, rolling back onto the back. Bending the knees and planting the feet. Shoulders roll back and down. Gentle tuck to the chin. Maybe here you bring palms facing up, keeping that openness through the shoulders. Should you really want palms down for that grounding sensation, try to just rotate at the wrists. Or you can keep the palms up. Beautiful. Let's take an inhale, lengthen through the spine so you can get a little taller. You'll notice you'll press the low back down and towards the mat as you do so. exhale and soften through the shoulders. And let's cross left leg over right. Maybe bring that ankle right above the knee. Start to send that right knee back towards the windows, feeling a little stretch, a little pull even here through the hip. And soften, but keep the general same shape through the legs. As maybe you start to float that left foot up. Maybe you just come on to left tippy toes. Maybe that foot floats up off the ground and you reach, holding on through their opposite knees or knees and ankle. Maybe those legs drawn enough for you to reach your hand for the little hole that's created, grabbing for the back of the thigh. Not squeezing through the shoulders, but just holding on to enough tension through the arms to keep the legs in place. If you have a favorite variation of this pose that you would love to take, you're welcome to do so. Maybe you just enjoy the stillness and you focus in on that sensation through that right hip, working on releasing and softening. Maybe you like to add a little rock from side to side, giving that low back a little bit more love. And other variations include sending those left toes up towards the ceiling, getting a little more into that left hamstring. Keep drawing the legs into the chest if you choose that, though, to keep that tension created on that right hip. And other variations include rolling through the ankles or pointing and flexing. Taking one more round of breath here, finding a tall inhale, getting a little bit longer. Finding a full exhale, trying to invite a little more softness in towards the body. Starting to softly release the hands, keep the same shape with the legs. Reach those arms out wide, left and right. And drop the legs off towards the left. Just coming into a nice twist, whatever that means for you. Maybe it's just the left foot that plants down. Maybe you get the right foot to plant down, knee up towards the ceiling. Or maybe both knees start to journey down towards the ground. They're just different angles for the legs to get into the hips a little different. And if you want a little more, you can bring that left hand on top of the legs, just adding in the weight of the arm on hand. It's not actively pulling it down. Still trying to keep that right shoulder glued down towards the mat. But if it's floating up, just bring the hand in a little closer towards the body. That just helps respect the angle that the shoulder is at. And it's fine, that release. Letting go with the knees if you had them. Starting to swing those legs up, but you could cross them at any point. Planting the feet down, take a little windshield wiper. Beautiful, planting those feet. And the right leg starts to cross over. Bring that right ankle onto the left knee. Send that left knee back, finding openness and space here. And relax the leg and the hip. And let's start to float that right leg up. Maybe just right tippy toes. Maybe the foot comes up off the ground and you reach your hands onto the top of the ankle knee, on top of both knees. Maybe start to draw those legs in a little closer, feeling the deepening of that stretch through that left hip. Maybe even reaching left hand through that little hole, grabbing the back of the thighs. Relax the shoulders. And gentle tug of the chin. Mirroring what you did on the other side. Maybe you just enjoyed the stillness. Maybe you found that little rock from side to side. Maybe you brought those right toes up towards the ceiling. Or maybe you had a little ankle movement in either circles or that point and flex. And taking just a few more rounds of breath here. Maybe on those inhales, you find length and space. And on those exhales, you find softness. Taking one more breath here. And at the end of that exhale, trying to release the hands and keeping the legs in the same shape. Reaching those arms out wide. The legs drop down towards the right, coming into a nice twist. Keeping that left shoulder as glued down as possible, or bringing that hand in a little closer. Taking the variation with the legs that you would like. Maybe that left knee stays up towards the ceiling. And actually get a little more into IT band or the sideline of the leg in doing so. Or if you drop the knee a little bit more down towards the ground, even a little deeper into the twist, a little more rotation through the spine. And that right hand can journey on top of the legs, and just adding in that little extra. Slowly starting to release the hand. The legs swing up. And uncrossing and planting the feet. And take that little windshield wiper. And find stillness. Let's hug the knees in towards the chest. Maybe roll into tiny ball, bring head and shoulders up off the ground. And slowly release back down, give a little massage across the spine. Gentle tuck the chin. Let's reach the hands through the knees for the feet, coming into a little happy baby. Maybe grab onto ankles, big toe, side edge of the foot, or if the feet are not accessible, you can bring the hands to the outside edges of the knees. You're drawing the knees in towards the body, and the feet go up towards the ceiling. You can add a little rock from side to side. Maybe you extend one leg long, and then the next. And then coming into a little freestyle portion of the class. We're exploring any other pose or movements that you would want to take before we settle into Shavasana. Taking time to listen and honor the body, or maybe even create a new pose, letting the body be playful. It's just that opportunity for you to take time to listen, but also to respond. that Shavasana, or if you need to switch over to the other side first, finding that balance between the sides. Just have a few moments of breath in a little freestyle. And then journeying to that final position you might want to take. It doesn't have to be the traditional Shavasana pose with legs extended and arms alongside the body. You want maybe more of a fish pose where you break the feet a little bit wider, maybe even off the mat, maybe even the arms reach out a little. And keep the knees bent with the feet planted as well. Finding that pose that you can connect in with the body. You can really feel into the breath. The shoulders roll back and down. The jaw relaxes. And the body softens. Starting to just feel the movement the breath creates. Feeling it start at the tip of the nose, journeying to the back of the throat as it then fills the lungs. Maybe breathe with the diaphragm, expanding that abdomen. And finding that softness as you release it all. Maybe you simply just take 5 to 10 full, slow breaths. And I'll call you back when it's time. Inhaling and exhaling. Remembering that intention you set at the beginning of class. Should it no longer serve you, let it go. Starting to awaken the body a little bit more. Finding little movements. Finding a few more movements. Maybe start to roll through those wrists and the ankles. And even roll through elbows. Finding just a bit more movement. Maybe take a nice stretch. Maybe roll onto your favorite side, finding a little moment in fetal position. The bottom arm used as a pillow, and the knees ever so gently bent. And slowly starting to press up towards seated. Finding a comfortable seat. And we'll take 3 cleansing breaths that exhale out towards the side. Getting ready, you're breathing in nice and deep. Take that exhale, let it go. Big breath in. Exhale, release. Last one, nice big inhale. Getting as tall as possible, as much air in your lungs as you possibly can, and let it all out. Finding length through the spine, rolling the shoulders back and down, the hands come to heart center, in the position of gratitude. Thinking of something you can be grateful for in this moment. I am thankful you shared your practice with me this morning. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day filled with many moments of joy. And I pray that you are always well. Namaste. Friendly reminder to wear your masks in the lobby, usually the next